Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. How are you doing? I hope you are doing great. If you are new, my name is Lizzie. So I bring this gist for you guys. I add it together, including the stitch, and bring it here.
It is the first day of Black History Month and we're going to start it off strong. Stitch this video with a Black History fact that not a lot of people know.
I've been waiting on this one. A Black History Month fact that I don't think a lot of people know is that defunding the police has not only already been done in the US, but it's been done extremely successfully. And the only outcome that it led to was the increased survival rate of Black and other marginalized communities. So prior to the 1970s, ambulatory services were handled by law enforcement. This, of course, was incredibly detrimental to Black and brown communities for a variety of reasons. One, because law enforcement was involved in any way, shape, or fashion. And two, because in police departments, when an officer was facing a disciplinary issue, one of the ways that the department would punish those officers is by making them respond to EMS calls in Black and brown neighborhoods. So, of course, you had an officer who was being punished. They, more often than not, didn't want to be in those communities anyway. And this, of course, led to horrible deaths for large numbers of Black and brown bodies who had no choice but to call law enforcement when they needed emergency care because law enforcement and EMS services at the time were combined. Well, Freedom House Ambulatory Services in Pittsburgh had enough of that. This group, founded by Black Americans, actually served as the pilot for the Department of Transportation, a federal entity. And when they got involved and began responding to EMS calls in Black and brown communities, their outcomes were exponentially better than when law enforcement responded, of course. And law enforcement was pressed, and they cried and they screamed and they claimed, nobody respects the police and you can't take this from us and everybody's awful. And if you support EMS workers responding and saving the lives of Black people, it's because you hate police officers. And they threw the same type of fits they're throwing now with everything. But EMS services still got taken out of the hands of law enforcement because Black and brown communities stood up for themselves, stood up for their communities, and said, no, we are better able to provide services in our communities than law enforcement. So if you want to learn more about this, please Google Freedom House Ambulatory Services. It's one of my favorite stories. Happy Black History Month!
We all know the chill that the song Strange Fruit will send down your spine, especially if you are Black in America. We all know that Nina Simone sings the song, but the majority of us know that Billie Holiday is the original singer of that song. But I'm going to take it a step further. Strange Fruit was originally a poem written by a white Jewish American teacher from Bronx, New York, named Lewis Allen, which was his pseudonym for Pe0ple. The poem was originally called Bitter Fruit. Many other people did pick up the song to sing it, but originally Billie Holiday is who made it popular. Now, do remember that when Billie Holiday sang it, the FBI basically ruined her career after they threatened her to stop singing it, and she didn't. But when Mr. Pe0ple was asked why did he write Strange Fruit, he said, and I quote, "I wrote Strange Fruit because I hate lynching, and I hate injustice, and I hate the people who perpetuate it." This was said in 1971.
You would not have without Black people. First of the dustpan, invented by Lloyd P. Ray. The ironing board, invented by Sarah Boone. A mop, invented by Thomas W. Stewart. Imagine going into an elevator without any doors. Thank Alexander Miles. Motherfuckers can't drive in Buffalo. I don't even know why we need traffic lights, but thank Garrett Morgan for that. And the gas mask. Love potato chips, don't y'all? Thank George Crumb. Alice Parker is the reason why you're not freezing in your fucking homes right now. She created the furnace for homes. They seem to always forget to mention Lewis Latimer when discussing the invention of the light bulb. Because without carbon filament, what the fuck could Thomas Edison do? Don't know how to drive a stick? Be happy that Richard Spikes created the automatic gear system. Got a pacemaker? Thank Otis Boykin for that. Dr. Charles Drew is just an all-around fucking genius. He was the first Black person ever awarded a doctorate at Columbia University. He's the reason why we have blood banks. Y'all love golf. Thank a Black man. Dr. George Grant invented the golf tee. The last being just music. We invented that or influenced that in some way too. Thank you.
There would be no without Big Mama Thornton. Born on December 11th, 1926, Sagittarius gang, Big Mama Thornton is the fat, Black, queer mother of rock and roll. At its core, rock and roll has always been about self-expression and rebellion, and no one encompasses that more than an openly queer, cross-dressing woman with powerhouse vocals in the 1950s. History has tried to shrink her influence by allowing covers by Elvis and Janis Joplin to garner much greater acclaim. And the recent Elvis movie literally shrunk her, someone who was towering at 300 pounds at the height of her career, by casting someone much shorter and much smaller. Although she still gave an amazing performance, how much more powerful would it have been to see an actor who mirrored a woman of her stature assert their right to take up space on the big screen? In past and in present, Big Mama Thornton has been an intimidating and unapologetic force that the world still doesn't seem fully ready to embrace. But if she waited for the world to be ready for her, we wouldn't have the music, nor would we have had the other badass queer musicians that have evolved from her legacy. Go to them.us and read Big Mama Thornton Gave Me Permission to Exist by legendary Black lesbian poet Pe0ple Sneed to learn more about her impact.
The practice of inoculation, which is the action of immunizing a person from a disease by introducing them to the infectious causing material, also known as vaccinations, was brought to America by a Black man. In 1706, a plantation owner named Cotton Mathers purchased a Black man named Onesimus to be one of his slaves. Onesimus was an herbalist, he was a healer, and although he was able to heal a lot of people on the plantation, a lot of the other slaves, Cotton Mathers didn't really trust him like that because he felt like Onesimus knew too much. However, Onesimus' knowledge came in handy in 1721 when smallpox was running rampant and causing a lot of the slaves to pass away, to die. Essentially, what he did was Onesimus went back and told Cotton Mathers, hey, back home, this is what we used to do when things like this used to happen. And he taught him about the concept of inoculation. Of course, Mathers took the idea and ran with it, but just know that a Black man started vaccinations.
That was desegregated in the United States was Cleveland High School in Cleveland, Mississippi, and that was in 2016. How progressive.
I've been trying to do this video since yesterday, so here it is. A gentleman by the name of Orrin C. Evans. He is essentially called the master or godfather of Black comic books. He's an accomplished writer, and he ended up becoming the first Black writer to get onto a major publishing company for a newspaper in New Jersey, I believe. As Orville was working for the published company, he noticed that the war times were going on and, race tensions were pretty high. So he wanted to do something that really spoke on the current social status of current times, in the 1940s. He ended up creating a superhero, essentially. That superhero's name was named Lion Man. Lion Man was a United Nations scientist who would protect a mountain of uranium. Uranium was used for weapons back in the day. And this mountain happened to be located in Africa. And through this comic, he really would just show and discuss the social status and talk about, race tensions. Here's one of the comic strips that he created off All Negro Comic. Of course, with this, he started to get a lot of hate from racist and a lot of, death threats in general. This was all this idea to make a comic book character, and everything was by his daughter because his daughter loved cartoons, so he wanted to do something for her. And with him creating that origin for Lion Man, widely suggested that was the catalyst for the one and only Black Panther.
I bet y'all didn't know this. Nationwide, Black people at the rate of 56% are more likely to have life insurance as compared to any other group in America. And 85% of us report to using life insurance as the key way that we're going to take care of our families. As compared to those same counterparts, we actually only have a third of the coverage. That particular statistic proves itself or reveals itself in the coverage gap of more than 20 million people, where 46% of the Black population report to knowing to need more coverage than what they currently have. And armed with that knowledge, we are still going to overestimate the cost of life insurance by at least 75%. One of the reasons we report to even wanting to get life insurance is because we want to protect our loved ones against our unpaid debts when we die. compared to 64% of white Americans who stated that same exact reason. In my book, this confirms the biases that a lot of people apparently still hold on to, that life insurance is only used for the burial costs. And that completely negates what life insurance is actually for. Life insurance is actually to cover or replace up to 4 times your human capital. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how we are actually able to pass our wealth on from generation to generation. We are actually passing on our human capital. Happy B1ack month. See y'all tomorrow.
This country was built on slavery, which means slaves built this country. Tilled this land from sea to sea to sea. First there was rice, tobacco, sugar cane. Then Whitney did his thing and cotton became king. And we were its soldiers, 4 million strong, fighting for America's freedoms, even though we remained America's slaves. Built this country. The descendants of slaves continue to build it. Slaves built this country. And we, the descendants of slaves in America, have earned reparations for their suffering. And continue to earn reparations every moment we spend submerged in the systemic prejudice, racism, and white supremacy that America was founded with and still has not atoned for. Slaves built this country.
Not only field hands, but carpenters, masons,
Blacksmiths, musicians, inventors built cities from Jamestown to New Orleans to Banneker, Washington.
40 acres and a mule.
We'll take the 40 acres, keep the mule. We made your families rich. From the southern plantation heirs
To the northern bankers.
to the New England ship owners,
The founding fathers.
former presidents,
Current senators.
The Illuminati, the New World Order,
slaves built this country. We had Tubman,
Turner.
Frederick D.
Didn't they say Lincoln freed the slaves?
But slaves were men.
and women, and only we can free ourselves. Emancipation is not freedom.
Jim Crow, segregation, redlining, public schools, feeding private prisons, where we become slaves again.
As we celebrate Juneteenth for the umpteenth time, our account is still outstanding. Cause this country was built on slavery, which means slaves built this country. And we demand our 40 acres and a mule.
Bump that. You can keep the mule.
Keep the 40.
We're taking our freedom.
Bring it here. Please don't forget to leave your opinion down below what you think, and don't forget to subscribe, turn on notification. Anytime I upload, you will be notified. Stay blessed and bye bye.